long ago, when I was in grammar school, I lived on the very eastern end of Long Island. And I attended an even smaller, tiny school. It was a Catholic grammar school. And I'm going to tell you the story about when I was in 7th grade. Now, uniforms and all, nobody liked them, but we also had these special events. We had people come in and give us extra classes. So on this particular day, we had a health teacher. So the 13 students in my class all went down to our multi-purpose room. We sat around a kidney-shaped table with those multicolored chairs all around. And our teacher said that he was going to give us a self-esteem lesson. So what he was going to do as part of this lesson is tell each of us 2 things that was going to increase our self-esteem. Now, I was actually looking forward to this. I was really, really, really shy and terribly insecure. So I was holding on to whatever this guy was going to tell me that was going to propel me forward. So he went around the classroom, and the first thing he started with was, "You're very beautiful, you're very handsome, you're good looking, you're very attractive." And then he added things that he knew. "You're good at sports, you're good at art, you're very good at math." And then he got to me. Now, I'll admit, I was starting to sweat a little bit because I was hoping that he wasn't going to say I was ugly, because you know, at 12 years old, you don't feel that great in your own skin yet. So he looked at me and he paused. And he said, in what I felt like was the flattest voice possible, "You're smart and nice." Well, I had to hold back my tears, because the bigger secret here was that I was the kid in my class that was bullied and picked on. I was shoved, excluded. And this glaring omission that I wasn't attractive did not go unnoticed. Now, I would have told you that my 12-year-old mind would have said that this was the big secret that made me want to kill myself. And I don't even think he meant it. But the teasing that escalated, it really, really made my life miserable. And then in 2006, while I was a student getting my master's at Stony Brook, I had a wonderful essay instructor. Luann Walker one day came in and she said, "Your assignment is tell your biggest secret." Now, I know she didn't feel like she was dropping a bomb. And what I wanted to do is write a very writerly essay that would probably garner me an A. That's what I was thinking of. But we went out to dinner. And wouldn't you know, the health teacher was in the restaurant. So I knew at that moment that I had to write about this. I had to tell this story that I really don't like to talk about, and I had to release it. So I wrote an essay, a Dear So-and-so essay, and I let him know what he did and who the person I had become in spite of. Now, that's the thing about telling these things. I felt a wave of relief. And the more I tell this story, the less painful it becomes. And I give myself the opportunity to connect with other people, because when I tell them this secret, sometimes they say, "Gosh, that happened to me too." Or they tell me something else. So there's really, by opening myself up and being vulnerable and authentic, there's an opportunity for connection. And that's the other thing. When you're on the receiving side of a secret, what you get to do is you get to hold this secret for somebody else without judgment. You don't have to take this burden on. You can hold it for whoever's telling you this secret. Now, what I'm not talking about is gossipy secrets or secrets about other people. What I'm talking about is maybe a lie you've been telling yourself. Maybe something that, like me, has become a self-limiting belief that you drag like a big rock for years and years and years until you finally let it out. What I want to share with you now are 2 secrets that I was the recipient of. And they've given me permission to tell these stories. Well, when I was in my 20s, I had a great girlfriend, and we used to go out to bars and out to dinner, and we had a tremendously good time. And one evening, we were out, and we were at my favorite bar. It was on the corner. And she turned to me after a few beers, and she said, "I have to tell you something. Can we go outside for a second?" I didn't think anything of it. So we walked outside, and we went around the corner. And this was a really neat bar. The windows were basically from my hip all the way up to the ceiling so that we could see what was happening inside, but it was quiet on the outside. And it was a warm summer's night. We sat in a corner. And she looked at me and she said, "I've never told this to anyone before." And she proceeded to tell me the story of how her sister sexually abused her. And as she continued telling me the details, my heart broke and I started to cry. Because all I wanted to do as a friend of hers at this point was to take some of that pain of her secret and unburden it for her. Because she had been so courageous and brave to tell me this, to really let me know who she was. She was afraid, actually, she said, that this was going to change our relationship. And it did. We were so close after that. Like we had a secret together. And we had evolved our relationship into something really special. Another woman I met a few weeks ago at a conference. We were in a workshop session, and they had broken us up into small groups, and they asked us to share a defining moment in our lives. And this woman shared with me when she was growing up, her parents had moved from Korea, and they had never learned to speak English. And she was required to do all the adult conversation and all the adult interaction and to do the translating, and she hated this. She was very ashamed that her parents hadn't learned English, and she was embarrassed by this. And I asked her what had changed for her when she had told people this secret. And she said, what surprised me, she said she'd learned self-compassion. And here this woman was, a successful doctor and coach, and so poised. What she also said was intriguing to me too. She said that so much of her success in her life was based on this situation that she had been so very embarrassed about. So what I was wondering, with the freedom of letting go of this self-limiting belief and the connection that you can make, was there any physical benefit? As an athlete, I'm always looking for the mental trick that may get me to be a little bit faster. So I was really happy to find out that there indeed was some research on this topic. Michael Slapian, a postdoc fellow at Columbia University, wrote a paper in March of this year in the Experimental Journal of Psychology. And in this study that he did, he got people that had preoccupying secrets. And he found that it didn't matter if they were big or small, only that they were preoccupying. And he was looking to see if letting go of these secrets would have a benefit for work. So what he did was he had them look at the steepness of an incline. And what he found with those with the preoccupying secret actually found that the steepness of the incline was much bigger, which I thought was pretty cool. So if you let go of your secrets, you can actually release a physical burden. What he did find too, that although there's wonderful research that says writing down your secrets can be of great, great benefit. I mean, there is actually another researcher, Jamie Pennybaker of UT Austin, who does much research on this subject and has found that it can increase your immune system, it can decrease visits to the doctor. But what Slapian found is there even a better and stronger benefit if you connect with another human being? Now, I'm wondering if any of you guys are starting to think about a secret that you might want to share with somebody else. Trust is a really important element about telling secrets. It's of more benefit when you actually have some trust with that person that you share it with. Now, I had another great professor at Stony Brook, Roger Rosenblatt, and he wrote a book called The Rules on Aging. And this rule that I love actually applies to secrets and self-limiting beliefs. The rule is, nobody's thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves, just like you. So I'm choosing to believe that none of you are still thinking about my terrible 7th grade situation where I had a self-esteem class that absolutely crushed my self-esteem. And maybe you're even thinking, Elizabeth, what's the big secret here? I mean, that's no big deal. And that's the other thing. The secret that you hold, or the belief that you hold, is so personal to you. And what I want to leave you with today is another quote from my late mother that I try and remember in all my creative writing and my life. And she said, Elizabeth, the things that people want to read and hear are the ones you don't want to tell. And with that, I encourage you to go out, find someone to connect with, and share part of yourself. Thank you so much.